Ooh. Hello, everybody. I am so excited to be here drinking my LinkedIn coffee, talking about all things LinkedIn. You see the theme going on here? Let's do it. Roll the tape, Mike.
It's Social Pulse Weekly, brought to you by Agora Pulse. With this week's special guest, Michaela Alexis. Discussing this week's hottest topics and latest developments in social media marketing. With your host, Jennifer Watson. Here's Social Pulse Weekly.
Hey guys, happy Friday. Thank you so much for joining us. I am so excited to be here and to be celebrating a week. I feel like, I don't know, for a lot of people, this was a really busy week, especially if you're attending Social Media Marketing World next week. You're kind of getting things together, maybe already packing. So thank you guys so much for joining us. As you know, we have an amazing special guest, Michaela Alexis, on the show today. But before we dive into all the amazing questions and everything, I just want to say, how are you guys doing? Let us know where you're watching us from, what the biggest achievement of your week was, and just how you're doing. We just want to, this is a fun show, two-way conversation, just like usual. So if you have questions, make sure to ask them. And I want to give a special shout out to our sponsor, Erin Sell. She is the founder and CEO of Socially Powered. She is a social media consultant, trainer, speaker, and producer of the popular Bad Crypto podcast. She also just launched the Socially Powered Digital Marketing Show podcast. So you'll have to look out for that one. Now, without further ado, the amazing Michaela Alexis. Now, this is so fun. She hails from Ottawa, Canada. And when I was 10 years old in 5th grade, we wrote like every week to pen pals in Ottawa, Canada. And our 5th grade trip was actually traveling there to meet them, which is just kind of cool. Unfortunately, I never met Michaela, but that would have been awesome. Anyway, she's currently one of North America's most in-demand speakers on topics related to LinkedIn and personal branding. Her journey started in March of 2016 when an article she wrote about landing her dream job went viral on LinkedIn. And since then, she has replicated that success with dozens of articles, receiving millions of reads, featured on the likes of CNBC, Success.com, BuzzFeed, and more. Over the past decade, she's managed the online presence of more than 100 high-profile brands, built her own personal brand to over 150,000 followers on LinkedIn, has starred in an Amazon Prime reality TV show, The Social Movement, and if that's not enough, she recently co-wrote a book called Think Video, Smart Video Marketing and Influencing. So, Michaela, thank you so much for joining us and for being here on this Friday, because it's, a lot of people have busy Fridays, busy afternoons, so we really appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much for having me. And it's funny because you missed the greatest moment. I'm trying to be all cool at the beginning of like this intro, and right as it rolled to the intro, I ended up spilling coffee. I won't show you, but it's like right beside my computer, all over like my pillow and part of my sweater. So there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. And
Yes.
Anybody that is clumsy will understand that at least once a day, there's going to be a coffee spill somewhere.
You know what? It's live TV and anything can happen, but that's exciting though. Sometimes it is. But Michaela, if you need to take me full screen so you can go get something to wipe up that coffee, like we can totally do that.
I'm all good. This is me. This is what I'm all about.
Oh my God, Michaela, you're so awesome. And I want to give a quick shout out. We've got Juan Santiago, who joins us every week. He's a big super fan and a big super fan of yours. So thank you, Juan, for joining us. Alan is in Ireland at 7 p.m. there. And Alan, thank you so much for ending your Friday with us. Jeff C. is in the house. Can't wait to see you next week. Nazim is from Italy. And it's even later for him. So Nazim, thank you so much for joining us. We got the incredible Deb Mitchell and also Tim, who scored complimentary organic coffee after LinkedIn post went trending with coffee. Nice. Well done, Tim. That's a fun fact. And then we've got Sarah, who nearly finished with a 3-month website redesign. launching on Monday. Sarah, that's a great achievement. Wow, congratulations to you. You'll have to share the link for that redesign. Terry Johnson, what's going on? So we've got a good crowd with us today. Thank you guys so much. So Michaela, I just want to get a little background. Like, just over 3 years ago, or maybe almost 4 years ago, I guess you would say, because it was 2016, you wrote an article and it went viral and you were just like, oh my God, this is incredible. This is so amazing. Can you give us a little history leading up to that point, and then what it was like during that point and how you managed to keep that momentum going?
Yeah, sure. My career was kind of like anybody else's before that point, or maybe not like everybody else's, but maybe some people can relate to this, where I was, working away, trying to like work my way up the ladder, didn't really know what I was aiming for, didn't really know what I wanted out of a career, just kind of felt like I needed to find work and pay my bills. And so I did that for almost a decade. And it was about a month before my 30th birthday, and I had been working at a startup. And I was laid off. And I had never been laid off before. I'm super hard worker, perfectionist. And so I was really down. Like, I know people talk about hitting rock bottom. That was probably like the lowest point of my career. But I also believe that in those really dark moments, that's where the magic can really happen, because you lose, this fear of loss and rejection, because you don't really have much to lose. And so the day after I was laid off, I went on LinkedIn and I sent a message to a marketing idol of mine at the time, Scott Stratton. Marketers on here might know Scott. He's a huge keynote speaker at a lot of the events that you may attend. And let me preface this by saying I listen to him like every day in my car, in my commute, his podcast. I never expected a response. I was in a mood. I was in my feelings. I just wanted somebody to just listen. And so sent him the message and came back a couple hours later and saw that not only did he respond and give me this incredible career advice, but he also asked for my address. And
Oh my
a few days
God.
later, a huge box from Amazon showed up at my front door with not only his books, but also books from people that everybody here will know, like Anne Hanley, content writing books. And so, of course, I mean, two things happened in that moment. I was like, I need to read every single one of these books and change my life. And I did. My first article went viral 2 weeks after I had finished those books. So if you haven't read books like Everybody Writes by Anne Hanley or anything by Scott and Allison Stratton, please go out, buy all of them, because it will change your life. But on top of that, and more importantly, is that I saw somebody that was so kind to me without expecting anything in return. And that's really rare. That's really, really rare in today's world. People are always looking for something from you. And I had nothing to give him. And so I kind of dedicated my life at that point to helping other people that needed to be lifted up, that needed help kind of taking their business to that next step. So I'm really, really grateful for that opportunity. But yeah, so my first article went viral 2 weeks later. It was called How I Landed My Dream Job in 2 Weeks on LinkedIn. I had kind of decided that I wasn't going to do the typical job seeker route of sending out a bunch of resumes. I started writing content and sharing articles and information that I knew, and was trying to attract the right types of companies to me. And I actually wrote a post saying, I'm not going to send out any more resumes. I'm just going to rely completely on the community. This is what I have to offer. This is what I'm looking for. If you know anybody, let me know. Didn't think anybody would actually care. And all of a sudden, all of these like strangers from all over my city were reaching out to me saying, I don't even have a job opening, but what you did was so ballsy, and I want somebody like you in my business. And I ended up turning down 4 job offers within a 2-week period, landed at a really, really great job. And that never happens. Like, normally you leave a job and you know that you're going to spend a few months kind of looking for that next step. So the fact that I was turning down job offers, I was like, oh my God, I found this huge opportunity for other job seekers and other people that are trying to change their career. I need to share that. And that's what the article was about, how I landed my dream job in 2 weeks. It was really about learning how to rely on community, rather than just sitting around and waiting for things to happen like for you kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then from there, I mean, the rest is kind of history, but I learned pretty early on, and I think earlier, in some ways than other people, that there is a huge opportunity on LinkedIn to talk about things other than the awards that you've won or the amount of money that your company made in the year prior. There's room for people to talk about things like fear of failure, rejection, confidence, those like real issues that we were all going through, but everybody was afraid to step up to the plate and actually like speak about them.
Michaela, I love your story. I think it's so incredible. And you know what's really interesting is when you end up losing a job, it's amazing what doors open up. And so, and a quick thing about me. So, guys, I started at the Weather Channel as a weather producer. So I created the graphics and forecasted for one of the shows. Well, I ended up getting laid off after 8 months. They laid off like the last 3 people they hired, they fired them in 8 months. And I was like, God darn it. But I was like, I'm not done yet. So that next day, and it's our stories are a little bit different, but I applied. They had a meteorologist social media position at the Weather Channel open. I applied, and within 2 weeks I was back. And then that started 4 years, 4.5 years of social media. And now I'm at Agorapulse. But it's like, it's so crazy how things can happen that way. So, and really quick, we've got Amanda Brown joining us from near London. Awesome, Amanda. Thank you so much for joining us. And let's see, Alan presented Mastering LinkedIn at the Big Biz Expo in Ireland this week. Congratulations, Alan. That's awesome. By the way, if you don't know Alan, he's truly amazing and incredible, and you need to follow him. Let's see who else we got going on here. Oh, Aaron Sell, you're awesome, our amazing sponsor. So, Michaela, I want to know what it was like when you first realized that your article was going viral.
Yeah.
And then, like, what were you thinking? Were you like, okay, so this is fascinating. How do I replicate this? Like, what was in your mind and what was your strategy then moving forward? Because you've had several viral moments since then. Basically, everything you produce goes viral now.
That first time was absolutely terrifying. And I think that's something that people don't really realize. So let me tell you the story first of what actually happened. So I wrote this article, and really and truly at that point, because I had been talking about my job search and I had brought people along for the ride, it was really just an update post. I had like stolen memes off the internet. Like, I'm surprised no one sued me yet for that, but I stole all these memes off the internet, and it was kind of like quickly written, and I just wanted to give people something to like try instead of what they were already doing. And so I wrote it within half an hour. And then I went out and I started doing my chores. I was doing my errands. I got my police check. I come back and I try to open LinkedIn on my phone, and the app just keeps crashing.
Huh.
And I'm like, okay, that's weird. But LinkedIn is also really glitchy. Maybe there's just something going on with my phone. And then I went on to the desktop version. And I don't know if people remember this. The OG LinkedIn users will remember this. When you had all sorts of analytics on your profile, you could actually go to a page and it would show how many people have like viewed it, and it had like a graph and all of that stuff. Well, I tried to go onto that analytics page, and again, it kept crashing and crashing. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? And I look in the top right corner with like the connections, and all I'm seeing is just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that are reaching out to me. And within a 1 week period, I went up to 13,000 followers. So that was like, that was insane. And I don't think that LinkedIn is quite like that anymore. It was kind of back in the day when not a lot of people were creating content and definitely weren't talking about the things that I was. And so it was kind of a big deal. And then I started to get really nervous because at first I'm like, wow, this is so cool. People actually care about my story. And but that was like my core group, my friends, my family members, people that I knew. all of a sudden people that I didn't know started to pick up this story, and they started saying, you have too much makeup on,
Oh
you need to
no.
lose weight, you are an alcoholic. I saw there was a photo of you drinking wine on Facebook, like just horrendous things. And I'm like sitting there like, what have I done? What did I open? And so that was something that I wasn't necessarily prepared for. And so, yeah, that's kind of like the pros and the cons. I mean, it's super cool to have something that resonates with so many people, but really what sustains me and what has sustained me since 2016 is not the amount of views or likes or shares. It's the people that reach. I'm going to get emotional. I get emotional every time I talk about this
Yeah.
because it really comes down to like being able to have the honor to potentially change someone's life is massive. There's no way to even describe that. So when I get messages from, women that, after I wrote an article about reporting harassment in the business world that reached out to me privately, or even with that article, I still have people that read that article about landing your dream job in 2 weeks, and they're going through the same thing that I was. And now they're like, I feel hope for the first time, or I actually went out and I wrote an article and reached this company because I just wanted to go for it. Those messages where people are just going for it because they feel motivated and inspired to do so because it's something that you did, like, you can't compare that to going viral. It really doesn't. It's just so, like, it just pales in comparison.
That's so incredible. That story, I just like love hearing that because it's like is when you least expect it. You know what's funny? Oftentimes you will write a post, or this happens to me sometimes where I'm like, this is going to be an amazing post. It's going to do awesome. And then I'm like, crap, it didn't. But
Yeah.
then like the one that you spend like 5 minutes on does amazing. You're like, what happened there? What was the difference? But
Sure.
yeah, and it's so you just never know. And
Yep.
so from that point forward, what did you decide was your next article? Like, how did you proceed from that? You're like, okay, I'm getting a lot of attention, a
Yeah.
lot of followers. Where do I go from here? So how did you decide what your next article was, and kind of where did you grow your business from that point?
So, like I mentioned before, Anne Hanley's Everybody Writes, if you have not read it, it is incredible. So the whole premise is that anybody can be a writer. And I really and truly believe that. It's nice to have kind of like that innate talent, but it's like a muscle. And so the more that you use it, the better you get. And so for me, it was really terrifying trying to create articles after that very first one, because I'm like, I don't really totally understand why this caught on so much. But then I just decided, I'm like, you know what? Let me just share my experiences. Let me share my life. And hopefully some of the things that I'm going through, other people are going through, and maybe this will help people. And so that's what I just tried to focus on rather than the numbers, just kind of sharing those like terrible interviews that I did, sharing the fear of rejection, sharing some of like the emotions that I went through as a job seeker, the shame of being laid off or being let go, the anger, all of those things that you have to go through to kind of get out on the other side. I just started sharing a lot of that. So I don't know if I necessarily had like a game plan. I just knew that this was a really great space for me to share my heart, and hopefully people will be interested and want to come along for the ride.
And I think that's what people relate to is, when you spark emotion, telling like storytelling, sparking emotion, being relatable, it draws people in even more because they're like, oh my God, I'm in a similar situation. Just like Lisa right here, Lisa Paddenden, she says, I love this. I'm on the hunt for my next role. I have 1 month left. So now I have a plan. She said, thank you. So Lisa, thank you so much. And if you have a question, Lisa, this is your opportunity to ask Michaela anything or anyone in here. We've got a lot of experts in here, and I know you're probably an expert too, but just ask any questions you want for any advice. We have Donna Gillard that said, yes, Anne Hanley's book, Everybody Writes, is an excellent book, which is very true.
Mm-hmm.
Christine Gritman is a huge super fan of yours, Michaela. She's like, oh my God, Michaela. It's
I
so
love her.
cool. So from there, Michaela, talk about some of the companies that hired you to do social media for them, and what were some of your biggest winning campaigns or social posts or things like that?
Yeah. So it's interesting because when I started in social media marketing, it was kind of the wild, it's still kind of the wild west, but like it was like nobody knew what they were doing at the time. It was like if you had a Facebook page as a business, you were cutting edge. And so I spent a lot of time just trying to figure things out. And so I've worked with a lot of different brands. A lot of the companies that I worked with, so I worked with a property management company, and I can't remember how many different properties they had. It was 30, 40, 50 properties kind of scattered, and each one of them had their own branding. And I kind of managed the presence simultaneously. And it's really funny because now that I think about it, that's a crazy amount of work. My very first job, I was managing the presence, the social media presence for 16 different restaurants in the Ottawa area. But I mean, the great thing about doing something like that, I worked directly with the owners. I also had flexibility to be able to do all the things. So not only just write the content, but also, you know, voice and create the radio ads and do all the things that a lot of people don't really get the opportunity to do, especially now when you're not all of the things. So the biggest wins for me, I mean, once I could actually convince my bosses that I should be on the payroll, that was a pretty big win for me because, again, it was still back in the day where people were like, I don't know what social media is. I don't know how this can affect my business. And so showing them the benefits was really, really special. And I felt really proud of that. I also loved being able to, especially when I was working at the property management company, bring other people into the story. So the biggest mistake that I saw companies making was that they would kind of say, okay, here's my social media manager, and they do all the things. And everybody else has their roles, but marketing isn't part of that role. And I think that's a huge mistake. Marketing has to be part of everybody's role. And so I found it really fun to bring people in, the rental agents, bring in the property managers, bring in the custodians. I started bringing people into the story so that they could share, you know, gifts that they've received, or things that they did for residents, or their stories being actually on the ground, because there's only so much that you can do from head office, and it's not going to resonate in the same way as it would if you actually can show the heartbeat of the brand. And so I found that really special. One of my best campaigns was, we were really focused on reviews, online reviews at the time, because what we were finding is that people would go, they look at a property, and then they would retract their application.
Interesting.
And it was because the reputation online wasn't cutting it at all. I think they had about 5 reviews, and they were all just terrible. And anybody that has worked in property management or real estate in general, it's a really tough thing to run the social media for, because you are always the bad guy, always. And so I created a whole program. I trained 150 different agents and property managers on how to gather reviews. So when they would show an apartment and somebody was really happy, or when they had a resident that would leave, we built it actually into the training so that they would ask for those reviews in those kind of pivotal moments. And then what we did, what was really cool, is that during viewings, we would actually put the reviews like on the TV screen in the apartment, because they were all furnished, into little frames. We bought little frames so that when they would go into the bedroom, there would be a quote saying, I really loved the view from here. Right. And then it would just be like this gorgeous view. And so it was really nice to learn how to incorporate not just what we think we are, but what everybody else thinks we are as well. So I thought that was super fun.
Oh, that's so awesome. You've had so much experience, I feel like, in the past decade with all sorts of different companies. And a special shout out to Jenny Brennan. She's also joining us from Ireland. So cheers to your Friday evening, TGIF. So Michaela, what is the biggest mistake that you see companies, and then just regular, people, entrepreneurs, doing on LinkedIn, like that they shouldn't be doing? Because I think a lot of people just don't know. And I know a lot of people in the past year or two are just like, oh crap, LinkedIn is now a place where people consume news. There's a news feed, and it's not about looking for a job or just that anymore. Yeah. There's so much more to it. So what are the biggest mistakes companies aren't making? Yeah. Or what are different things that they're not taking advantage of, but they should?
Yeah, I think it kind of goes back to what I was just saying, where a lot of companies have this idea, especially more traditional industries, where they're used to sending out pamphlets, mailing out flyers, creating a newsletter that they hope somebody reads. where they're kind of looking at LinkedIn as like an extension of that. And it's like marketing has changed dramatically. I do not envy anybody that kind of built their business with traditional marketing, because now all of a sudden you're going from this very kind of, you're standing on a podium and speaking to your audience or speaking at your audience, to having conversations, right? Even if you notice like the big brands, look at like Wendy's. People are always shouting out Wendy's for their tweets because they're always tweeting back at like their customers, and super sassy and all that stuff. But that is the trend, is to actually speak to your audience and have these conversations with them. And so I know a lot of businesses really struggle on LinkedIn because they share basically an extension of their newsletter, and they're like, this just isn't working. And LinkedIn is like anything, you know, you pick up the phone, and if you just kind of scream at people, they're probably going to hang up on you. So same thing with LinkedIn. If you're just yelling at people, then they're probably not going to care. But if you take it as an opportunity to almost create a service hub for your audience, and that's what even when it comes to LinkedIn pages, I don't like to call them LinkedIn pages. I call them service hubs. What information can you put onto that page to make the decision for that person visiting as easy as possible to decide whether or not to work with you? And so if you can really clarify who you're for, what benefits you offer, what problems you solve, that's where the gold is. But I think people really, I struggled with it even as a person. So a lot of like people will go on and they'll share things about their lives. They'll be like, Michaela, I'm being vulnerable. I don't understand what I'm doing wrong. And the problem is that they're writing for themselves. And learning how to write for somebody else is a real skill. And I'm going to go back to Ann Handley. Everybody writes. If you want to learn how to write for somebody else, it's a great book. One of the hacks that I did. So when my very first articles were terrible on LinkedIn. But what I did is I went through them, and every single time I said, I used the Control F button. And every time I said I, me, we, I changed it to you, your, them.
Nice.
So I really focused on writing for that person. And I still, to this day, I'll look at things that I'm writing. I'm like, did I say I? What should I have said you? Because even that tiny little difference makes a massive difference when somebody is reading it, because they feel like it's for them.
And I think like that tip right there. So now everything I do, I'm totally going to be looking at, am I doing it for me?
Yeah.
Or, and I think that, a lot of companies, and there's a lot of social media managers where the only social media manager or social is only one part of their job, and they're just checking a box, and they're just not really spending time and really trying to create something memorable. But it's storytelling and really trying to have an engaging conversation and open the door for conversation, which is what you're really trying to do. And so I have a question. What are some brands and companies that are actually doing it right, that are your favorite ones to follow and to watch on LinkedIn? And you're like, you know what? They're doing a great job. Or it can be people too that are doing it right, entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I think business-wise, I always point to gong.io. They are my absolute favorite company page. If you look at their content, and anybody that's listening that's trying to build up their company page, look at what they're doing, and you'll notice that they've created a community. It's a real community where there's conversations that are happening. They're speaking with people in the comments. The content is directed directly at their audience. It's totally different than what you see on other company pages. So gong.io is my favorite. I also really like Lemonade. Lemonade is an insurance company in New York. And what I love about them is that they really leverage the personal brands within the company. So they're, what is his role? Chief behavioral, I can't remember his role. He's a senior exec, Dan O'Reilly, the very famous psychologist. And so he's done TED Talks and things like that. And they'll repurpose the TEDx Talks, leading back to the website, but they really, really take advantage of what the senior leaders are already doing, and they share it on the page, which is a great way to establish trust and essentially transfer that trust from that person onto the company itself. So I think that's really brilliant. Trying to think of another. I don't like to use them as an example because I know people have like some ethical issues with them, but Coca-Cola does a great job on their company page on LinkedIn. What I like about them is the fact that they do gear it towards investors. And what you'll notice is that you'll see the CEO in a lot of the videos. And that's something that I really like to see in general, is it's not the job of the social media marketer or the marketing manager. Like, get the big people, like the senior execs on camera. I think that's really, really powerful. One that's kind of surprising is Headspace. So Headspace is an app. It's a meditation app. Never would expect them to be one of my examples for LinkedIn pages, but they do these really cool, like 30 to a minute, like graphic animated videos for breathing. They do a lot of them on Monday mornings, which is perfect because, but they know their audience. They know that people are going into meetings, so they gear it towards professionals, and it's very quick, it's digestible, and it really showcases what the product is all about. So those are, I mean, I have so many favorites, but those are some interesting ones. And then in terms of people, I mean, there's so many people I love. Dr. Natalia has been a good friend of mine for many years. She is incredible when it comes to personal branding. She has a beautiful backdrop. She's so consistent with her content, and she really makes everything very, very digestible. And so I love her videos. Shay Rowbottom is another woman that I absolutely love. I think what she's doing on LinkedIn is so cool. She's taken so many of the techniques and strategies that she's learned on other platforms and is applying them to LinkedIn, and is showing what can actually be done with the platform. Judy Fox is one of my dear friends. I love how just silly and open and just herself she is, authentic with all of everything that she posts, and she's so helpful and so encouraging to other people. And if you watch her, oh my gosh, I don't know how she has the time, but she comments on everybody's comment, and she comments on your stuff, and her comments are always so thoughtful and so engaging and so sincere. So those would probably be my three.
Oh my gosh, I love that. No, you ran off a whole list, Michaela. Like, this is great. This is so awesome because a lot of times what happens is like after the show, I have a watch party on Tuesdays of the prior Friday show. And so literally I watch myself, I kind of critique, and then I also am like writing notes, and I'm going to be writing all those notes. So, and everyone loves Judy. Judy is so great too.
She's so sweet. And she is exactly online what she is offline. And those are the types of people that I'm attracted to.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Same here. And so you talk on a lot of stages around the world about making mega brands on LinkedIn or anywhere out of a mini budget. Yeah. So let's say like even big brands sometimes don't have a big social media budget. So what are your pro tips on that, making and growing a really amazing community on a very small budget?
Yeah. So one of the biggest things, and actually one of the biggest myths when it comes to building a brand on LinkedIn, is the fact that you need to have a huge budget. I know that I just mentioned Coca-Cola, but most of the companies that I follow and the examples that I use are actually really small companies like Gong.io. I talked to their marketing person. For a very long time, it was one person. And I just think that they hired a new person. So you had two people on the team, which is still not a very large team. But what they did is that they sat down and strategically thought about, okay, where is our audience? And they directed all of their energy onto their LinkedIn page rather than trying to spread themselves too thin, because they're like, oh my God, Snapchat. And what about TikTok? And what about focus on where your audience is? And what I really love that I'm seeing from companies more and more is that they are letting go of this idea that in order, especially with video content, that they need to create this like beautifully stylized video that's going to cost thousands upon thousands of dollars. And you're starting to see a lot more candid content that is just showing the behind the scenes. I just did, I'm working on my presentation right now for Social Media Marketing World, and had an example from a welding company. And so rather than talking about their tools, they actually showed it. And I might have been into welding. I'm like, this is so cool. This is because you can actually see, and people appreciate what they can see. And so that's the biggest thing, is to bring people behind the curtains and show not only your products and services and why they are so valuable, but also spotlight your employees, give them a chance to shine as well. And so little things like if you're going to an event, why not give control to that person? You know, they can share their lessons from Social Media Marketing World, and they can record videos. Like, make it part of everybody's job rather than, oh, well, you know, social media belongs to one department and that's it. I think that's probably the biggest mistake. But yeah, candid videos are huge. Apps that are really easy to access. I love Hype Type, HYPE. Type. It's a free app, and it's a great way to animate the text on a photo. So this is just a way to, without spending any money at all, to just kind of make your content look a little bit more interesting. And that's a really great way, especially if you write blog posts and you want to lead people off of LinkedIn, but you want to kind of like engage them at the same time on your page. That's a really great app to use. I also really like headliner.app. That's a place that you can create audiograms. So if you or a senior member of your team is on a podcast or does a video, you can actually extract the audio, upload it to Headliner, and it creates this audiogram. So it's like an animated video that shows, like, I know everyone's, it's like, oh, I knew that thing, but I didn't know what it was called. Where it actually shows where, you know, when people's, what is that called? Where people's voice goes up and down. Somebody knows what it is.
It's I know exactly what you're talking about, and I can't think of it either. Like our producer, the god of agorapulse, can you?
I'm like doing this. It's not the heartbeat, but yeah, your volume, your voice. Anyways, so and again, Headliner is free. This doesn't cost anything. It does take a little bit of time, but imagine that versus just a static image or just text. Like if you went to a museum and you just walked around and there was text all over the wall, would that be interesting? That's interesting to nobody, right? So I like to think of both my personal content and my company page. How can I create these artifacts that are going to engage people, that people can play with, that they can interact with? And so that's by animating photos, by using video. I really love Loom. Loom.com is a great way if you work in like the online space, if you have an online tool, or you work in social media, and you can show something or show a demo of something. I use Loom almost on a daily basis. Again, it's free. And you literally, it's just a screen cap. So you can be in the corner and then you just show people using your mouse how to do something. It can be a minute long. You upload it to your LinkedIn page. And people always see these videos that I'm posting on my page and they think that it costs a lot of money or that I'm having somebody do it for me. And these are all free tools that are available to anybody.
And I love how Alexis approved apps. That's what my
trademark it.
Yes, that was fantastic. No, and you actually answered one of my questions before I was going to ask you, so that's perfect. That's so awesome. So, Michaela, I have to ask you about LinkedIn Live. It's still in beta. You have to apply for it. Do you have any inside info on when they're going to open it up to everyone? Any tips on applying? What information do you have? And then also, what are some of your favorite LinkedIn Live shows to watch?
Ooh. So in terms of insider information, I don't have a lot. Like I do have access on my personal. I love it. I didn't love it in the beginning. I'm going to be the first to admit it. Full transparency. I did not love using LinkedIn Live when it first came out because people forget sometimes when you're beta testing something, that means that you are the guinea pig. We get all excited about these new tools and it's like, oh yeah, there's a reason that it's not available to everybody. And so there were some kinks that needed to be worked out, and it's much better now. It's fantastic now. I find it super, super fun. I love doing live interviews. So I'll tell you the way that I've been using LinkedIn Live, and I'd love to do more of it down the road. I'm kind of selfish about it. I guess people do this with podcasts too. I am reaching out to people that I just want to learn from. Right? Like, and I guess you guys probably do the same thing. It's like, oh, I want to learn more about LinkedIn. Let me get Michaela on. But it's the same sort of thing. So all these people that, authors that I've been connected to or people that I really admire, I love to bring them on and ask them these questions that I know are going to be super high value for my audience and just let it flow. Like not super, super scripted, just kind of like this where we're just talking about different subjects. And I find, again, that goes over really well on LinkedIn. There's something about LinkedIn where I don't know if it's a demographic. When things are too stylized, it turns people off. So that's true with LinkedIn Live shows. That's true with videos, with photos. If people feel like it's staged, they're not into it. And so letting go of this idea that it needs to be a certain way because it's LinkedIn, it doesn't. It just needs to be high value. So I love doing it that way. In terms of when it's going to be released to everybody, from the last time I heard, there's only like a few thousand people that still have access to it. So it is a very slow rollout. I have no idea when they plan to release it to everybody. If you do want to apply, I mean, there's a couple things to keep in mind. Number one, they're going to want people that are going to be posting regularly. I say that, and I haven't posted in about 2 months, so I might be in trouble for that one. But they're looking for people that are going to do, either a monthly show, a weekly show, a daily show, that are going to constantly be using it, because the more that they have beta testers using it, the more they can kind of figure out what's working and what isn't. You also want to showcase what you're going to talk about, and really think about that when you do the I don't know if you can add the link to apply for LinkedIn Live access, but you want to talk about, okay, if you get on live, what are you going to speak about? Because there are restrictions and people don't realize. So when I go on LinkedIn Live, I can't actually talk about LinkedIn, which is very interesting. That was one of the guidelines for me. And that's tough because that's what I do for a living. But that's okay. That's part of their rules. They just didn't want it to be too meta. And so they've kind of restricted that. The other thing is that they don't want you to sell, right? Because they really just want to focus on people having a really great experience. They don't want people going on and being like, buy now for only $19.99, no infomercials. So when you're filling out your application, just keep some of those things in mind, that they're looking for people that are going to produce a show, not necessarily just go live.
And those are really smart tips. And really quick, guys, so we were talking about Scott Stratton. So I have a watch party going on my personal Facebook page, and Scott is watching. I know, it's exciting. Michaela, yeah.
No, he's going to make fun. So I actually met Scott at Content Marketing World, because that was the first time that we were actually speaking together.
Oh, that's
and awesome. He's already, I was so fangirl. I was
totally
so annoying. I was so annoying about it. I'm the same way with Ann Handley. When I met Ann Handley, I actually ran to the other side of the room because we were both at the speakers party, and everybody knew about this, to the point when I actually met Ann, she said, "Oh, I heard that you ran away from me yesterday." So I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know what it is. I've met celebrities and I've met all these people. Nothing gets me like marketers, really smart marketers that are just amazing at what they do. I just lose my mind.
Oh my God, no, I'm the same way. Even with Jay Bear and others. Oh my God.
Bear, I still haven't talked to him. He's another one where I end up running away.
No, don't do it. No, at Social Media Marketing World, like, I'm gonna have your arm, and you're not.
I'm sweating so. Why did I wear a sweater today?
No, you should. No. It's like, I think it's in the 50s right now, but every time I do a show, I have 3 lights, because I don't have any windows where I am, to make me look bright. And so literally it's like a hot box. And so, like, I have powder here. So when they pull you full screen, Michaela, I'll powder my face, and I have my door, like my porch door, wide open, so I can get cool air in, so I don't overheat.
I love it. All these little things that go on behind the scenes.
Oh, yes, totally. And speaking of behind the scenes, and you made a great point too, when it comes to live video and things being staged. I did a lot of Facebook live video at the Weather Channel. And it was so funny. At the beginning, we tried to make it perfect, almost like TV on Facebook. And people were just like, no, they were not into it at all. It was our behind the scenes. We would have some of our meteorologists go live between commercial breaks, or in the middle of the show, running from one studio to the other. That's what captured people's attention, not the other way around. So that was such a great point about that. And thank you so much for asking those questions too. So you are also a co-author. Your book is Think Video, Smart Video Marketing and Influencing. Can you tell us a little bit about the book, what sparked you to actually write it, and some tips from it?
This is like the strangest project ever. So Think Video was actually born. No, it actually wasn't born on LinkedIn. It was born in Madrid, in Spain. So the original book was written by JJ and Gerard, who are my co-authors, in Madrid. And it was written for a Spanish audience. And so they wanted to, because it was so successful there, they wanted to transform it for the North American market. So not only translate it into English, but then they also had to take out all the case studies, all the examples that just didn't make sense for the North American market. So they were looking for somebody that could help them with it. And I think JJ and I had been connected on LinkedIn. And JJ, by the way, is JJ Delgado. He's incredible. He worked for Amazon. both JJ and Gerard, if you don't know of them, they're both incredible at what they do. They're huge in Europe and doing all sorts of cool stuff. But anyways, JJ reached out to me. He asked if I wanted to be part of this. I, of course, had no idea how much work it would be. So I was like, heck yeah, I'll have it to you in 2 weeks. And that didn't quite happen, but we did eventually make it happen. And it was really, really fun because I was able to also spotlight some of the people that I really admire, a lot of the creators that we've already talked about on LinkedIn and on YouTube and people that I've met on other platforms. And it really allowed me to have a better idea of how and why video works. So it was kind of like a learning project kind of wrapped up in one. And it's a great, great book. It's an incredible book if you haven't read it.
So, and I can't wait to read it. So are you going to write any more books? That's the question.
You know, I have learned something. So I recently, one of the things that I'm most proud of recently is that I teamed up with LinkedIn and just filmed in California over the holidays to release the very first LinkedIn Pages course for LinkedIn Learning. And something that I noticed going through that process is I cannot work by myself. I am such a person that needs accountability.
Yeah.
The willpower that you need when you're a solopreneur is just crazy. And so being in the position where I was working with LinkedIn and I had a producer and I had all these people that were counting on me and I couldn't just be like, yeah, let me do it tomorrow. That were like, that's not going to cut it. We have to record tomorrow. That to me was like the perfect setup. And I probably would still be working on that if I didn't have that kind of structure. And so I know that if I do write another book that I'm going to need to hire somebody to help kind of kick my butt a little bit.
Oh my God, I'll help you, Michaela. I'll be your coach for that.
You know, I think I'll probably continue on the online courses route. I really, really enjoyed that project. And I love the mixture of being able to write. I love copywriting, but I also love being on camera. And so online courses kind of combine both of those. So I think I'll probably end up doing more of that, leaning more into that rather than just sitting down and writing. Because I don't like writing. I love the process of releasing what you create, but actually sitting down and straight creating is really grueling, especially if you're like a performer, right? I'm just outrageous. Like I wear sequins like half of my life. And so sitting down in a room and writing for a few hours, it just seems like it's kind of torture.
It's hard, especially when you're forced to do it. Like when you're naturally motivated to write or you feel like you have something to write about, it's one thing. But with deadlines, I can see how it's like, it makes it hard,
I have attention needs. My husband can attest to that. I just need all the attention. I can't just be in a dungeon writing a book. So hopefully one day, my older brother actually won the Giller Prize in Canada a couple years ago. And I do have writing in my blood, which is something that most people don't know. I have a lot of amazing writers. And the reason that I write the way that I do is because of my brother and also my mom, who was a teacher, and she drilled it into me growing up. But I love those shorter pieces. And that's why I still create on LinkedIn, but they're short, right? And even with articles, there were blog posts, doing a full length book is like, it's a challenge. It's a challenge.
Well, I can't wait to read your book, and I bet it's amazing. And I want to give a quick shout out to Bella Vasta, who just joined us. We've got Phyllis, Terry, all you guys are so wonderful. We're so glad you're here. Ask your questions because, guys, we only have less than 15 minutes, 13 minutes left. So you guys, Michaela, she's amazing, incredible, on demand. This is your opportunity. So Michaela, let's talk about generating leads on LinkedIn and then social media in general. I know you talk about this on stage as well. What are your main big tips for people, for brands that are trying to generate leads, but do it in a way that's like, hi, I'm not forcing it down your throat, like selling it to you?
I think that people think that they either need to sell or serve. And I truly believe that you can serve while you sell. And I think so if you can get out of that mindset of asking for anything or asking people to do something is selling, that's going to make your life so much easier. So for myself, I mean, I give away all sorts of things. I give away checklists. I give away webinars, all sorts of stuff. But I also ask for email addresses in return. And so that allows me to serve them on my email list. So one of the easiest ways is kind of understand the process that people go through too. Most people are not going to listen to a video that you posted on LinkedIn and then go ahead and work with you. There's going to be steps in between that. And so you always want to warm up your audience. So I actually like to think of it this way. People will start by following your page if they are kind of interested in what you might have to offer. The next step for them is to get them out of lurking mode and into engaging mode. So rather than just having them sit and watch, how can you entice them to respond to something that you post? So for me, that's by posting actually, one of my best pieces of content on my company page is the LinkedIn Conversation Corner. And so I'll just take news that's like really outrageous, which is really easy. Thank you so much for everybody that's doing weird stuff on LinkedIn, because it makes my life much easier. So I'll post about these stories and then I'll just ask people what they think of them. And then we just kind of have a conversation from there. And so if you can create pieces of content that are just focused on that very first step of getting people out of lurking mode, rather than being like, how do I get them from following to like buy my product and service? Baby steps, right? It's kind of like dating. You don't like go from like, connecting with somebody on Tinder to proposing to them. There are steps in between. You got to meet the parents, and then you got to figure out if your values align. That was a weird comparison between dating and company pages. But anyways, thinking about that process and kind of leading them through that is probably the best way to do it. And just always be focusing on serving. So I follow the serve, sell model, which is really, it's not, tried and true. If you post 3 times and it's service posts and the 4th one should be selling, but just bearing in mind that you should always be educating or entertaining more than you sell is just a good rule of thumb to follow. And it usually does work.
And that's great advice that should be taken everywhere when it comes to marketing, trying to get leads. Because when people just try and force it and not try and help or cultivate relationships, then it doesn't work at all. Rebecca Ward, yay. Rebecca Ward is one of our favorites. She joins us every week too. And she's overseas as well. Yeah, she's across the pond. It's like 8:00 for her. So we do have a question from Erin Sell, and this is a great question. She said, you mentioned connections on LinkedIn in your article. How do you handle all the spammy and sales requests? Every time I accept a stranger on LinkedIn, I'm immediately pitched. So I've stopped unless there's a reason for me to connect. What are your thoughts on this? I get the same thing, Erin, completely the same thing.
So here's the biggest thing. So we know as marketers, and I'm assuming everybody that's on here has some experience or has marketing in their role. You have to teach the algorithm. So if I go onto LinkedIn tomorrow, it's going to show me things that are irrelevant to me, right? I actually have to engage with certain things. I have to post certain things for it to learn what I like, to be able to create a newsfeed that is actually really relevant to me. So the same thing is true when it comes to your inbox. The first thing, because I have clients all the time that come to me and they're like, Michaela, all I'm getting are sales pitches and like spammy messages. I get those, but it's like a tiny percentage. And so that's where you want to be. So the first step would be to look at your LinkedIn profile and make sure that you are making it crystal clear what you do and who you serve. Because likely something's getting lost in translation and people don't really know who you serve. So the more clear you can be about what you're looking for, what you're using LinkedIn for, the more likely you're going to have qualified messages that are coming into your inbox. I've always found that anyways. When I started on LinkedIn, I didn't create content. I can't remember when I started on LinkedIn. I think it was like 2011. So I sat on it for a very long time and I had the exact same complaint, but I did notice when I started to optimize my profile, all of a sudden those messages started to shift into something that was a lot more helpful.
Oh, that's great advice. And then Christine Gritman said, dating is marketing. This is very true, Christine. Very, very true tip. You guys, if you still have questions for Michaela, it is your chance right now. But Michaela, we're going to talk about a few fun social media news articles really quick. So we're going to have Mike throw them up there. And we're going to talk about TikTok first. So, and I'm going to ask you, Michaela, if you're a big TikTok fan, if you're dancing, doing videos. So TikTok has introduced parental controls with a new family safety mode feature, which is launching first actually in the UK. And I think these kind of parental controls are always so good because it's good to know what your kids are watching, especially I have a 2.5-year-old. So when she gets to the teenager stage, I'm going to be all over that. But they announced that they're setting parental controls called Family Safety Mode, designed to let parents set limits on their teenage children's use of the TikTok mobile app. The suite of features will include screen time management controls, limits on direct messages, and restricted mode that limits the appearance of inappropriate content. So I think this is important, especially if you're a parent. It's one of those things you just never know. Like, I'm so terrified of my daughter when she gets a Facebook, account or Twitter. I mean, who knows what's going to exist in like 10, 15 years. Yeah. So I think when they, employ things like this, any kind of social media channel, I think it's a really, really good thing. But do you like TikTok, Michaela? I want to know that.
Well, I was just thinking that I should probably have that restriction on the time that I'm on the app too. That would work for me. Because it's one of those things that you're on there like 5 minutes before bed, and all of a sudden it's like the sun's coming out and you're like, what just happened?
Yes.
I absolutely love TikTok. Of course, there are so many parents that are out there that kind of give full control to their kids. And to me, so TikTok in particular, what I like about it is that it is really entertaining. The one that really concerns me is Instagram, because it's one of those platforms that is really all about looks. I think it is kind of evolving into something that's a little bit deeper now. Yeah. But I think of myself as a young female that would open the magazine like Tiger Beat and all of these things. And I would look at these girls that are in Skechers ads and I would be like, I'm never going to look like that. I'm not good enough. But I could close the magazine and go on with my day. And I think of these like young women that are going through, especially Instagram, but TikTok as well. They're going through videos and they're looking at all these girls that are skinny and beautiful and dancing a certain way. And they don't have that same kind of like, let me just, well, I guess you could turn it off, but it is just all around them and it's so easily to access, Yeah. And so that scares me a little bit. I think TikTok is fantastic though as a tool overall. What I really love, and I'm starting to see there's like a shift on social media where people are looking for more candid content. These are not necessarily videos that are like super highly produced like you would see on YouTube or elsewhere. They are like,
it's raw and real.
It's kind of like you're talking to a friend, right? And so I really love this shift into something that's a little bit more substantial because I truly believe, I've seen my life change on LinkedIn, but it's because of the community that I've surrounded myself with. And it's because I've been so open and vulnerable. And so I think that it has the opportunity to be such a great thing for so many people that are going through hard times, loss and illness, and all, to find people that are going through the same thing and kind of create a supportive community. Yeah. But I think that there, of course, especially as kids are growing up, they need to have restrictions.
Oh yeah, they definitely, it's just so tough. I mean, school and growing up in your teenage years can be tough anyway, let alone just everything in your face. And do you follow Mitch Jackson on TikTok? The lawyer, Mitch Jackson?
I do not.
Okay, follow Mitch. He is amazing. He's an attorney in California. He's going to be at Social Media Marketing World. I have to introduce you. He's awesome. He's incredible. And then another really fun fact, thinking about this, on Facebook memories, you can actually, if there are certain memories of people you don't want to be reminded of 5 and 6 years later, you can tweak that and turn that off. Just a fun little tip, if you ever want that. So now on to our next one. Facebook tests the new format for separate Facebook stories discovery page. So you guys, this is an article from Social Media Today by Andrew Hutchinson. So we love Andrew because he said, every time Facebook tries out another Facebook Stories edition, a part of me does feel like it's a bit Regina George. Like, stop trying to make that happen. They're really trying to force it. Yeah. And they're doing it hardcore. But Facebook is certain, he says, that stories are in the future, or are the future of sharing and the way more users are heading. And it says it has stats to prove it. So I don't know about you, Michaela, but, and I think the stories discovery page is like, it's going to bring more people to the page. Yeah. And you can see it right at the bottom of the stories, see all stories. It's going to kind of open it up like Instagram has on IGTV, where you can kind of see all the stories of different people and everything like that. So I think it is cool. I mean, it's great for them trying to expand. It's funny though. I still am more an Instagram story person over Facebook.
I wonder sometimes with these companies if they're actually trying to figure out what need they're fulfilling. I mean, there is Instagram stories for all this, and I think that Instagram stories does it better than Facebook stories. So I'm just trying to, I think that this is a good move. I think kind of creating that separation is nice. And I mean, I love the idea in theory of Facebook stories. I don't personally use them. I don't really I use Facebook. I have a lot of family members from overseas. I have family all over the world. And so I don't necessarily want to constantly be like sharing with them. So I don't know and I don't know if anybody else is like that, but I just have such a mixed audience that it's very hard to create stories for. Whereas Instagram, I am actually trying to play to a certain niche. So I know what types of content they're looking for. So I don't know. Facebook stories just confuses me a little bit. Like, what are people posting there?
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. And if I do post, it's like the same exact thing from Instagram.
Instagram.
I know you're not supposed to do, but it's just like, I don't know what to put on Facebook because it is like my family's there and they see it. And I know I have some family members on Instagram, but it's different, you know? So Michaela, I'm right there with you. I still feel the same way. And I would love to know from our audience, do you care more about Facebook stories than Instagram stories? Which one is your favorite? I would love to know. Okay, so really quick, because it's basically 3:00 now, guys. We've been talking for an hour. Michaela, we could talk the rest of the day. You know,
we will. Social media marketing world, we will.
Yes. Oh my God, it's so going to happen. It's so going to happen. So this is our last news bit, but Snapchat is testing a major redesign to simplify its in-app navigation. It's always been just a little bit difficult and challenging to navigate if you really don't know it that well. But their redesign would expand the app from 3 to 5 definitively separated sections, and they would add a black navigation bar at the bottom so you could easily navigate between each. The first one would be the Snap Map. The second would be the chat section. The third is the main camera. The fourth would essentially be the current Snap Discovery section. And then the fifth would be the new Discover, which would showcase Snap's original programming. So, which has been a significant boost in viewership over the past year. So Snap is they're really trying to reinvent themselves. And their fourth quarter last year was really big. And the funny thing is, I dropped off on Snapchat probably 2 or 3 years ago and really haven't done much with it since. Mm-hmm. But I know they've got all the redesign. They're trying to do it. I don't know. Are you active on it, Michaela?
I was, and I feel like it was probably around the same time when Instagram stories came out.
Yes.
I was like, wait, more of my friends are on this platform, and so I just found it easier too. And it's great that they're redesigning it because I totally agree with that. There was a little bit confusing, especially when you first start. I think about this versus TikTok. Like, TikTok makes it stupid easy to get addicted to it because it's very easy to figure out. Whereas Snapchat has always kind of been like, okay, I still don't know how to just send a message just to one person and how to discover certain things. So I do think that it's a step in the right direction. Part of me wonders if it's a little bit too late at this point to attract those people that are not going to be like the diehard fans that are already there.
Yeah, I can see that. I'm interested. I'm so interested. Like MySpace, who knows what's going to happen? And who knows what other apps are going to get developed too. But like personally, my favorite is Instagram. It is everything I love. The feed, the stories, the TV, the live. I mean, all that. And I know there's value in every single one of them. Like live events, my favorite is Twitter. But still, like, I don't know. I'm an Instagram girl.
I did use Snapchat to turn myself into a man. But I don't know if anybody else did that.
No. I did too. I saw what I looked like and I was like, oh my God.
I better download it just to turn myself into a dude.
Oh my God. I know. I looked like my dad and I was like, ah. And then I just.
That was creepy. I look like my brother too. Yeah. It's quite disturbing.
Oh my God. I was totally creeped out. Erin says, she only uses IG stories. I know another one here. I think Christine said, I never make original Facebook stories. Same. I think we're all on the same level, which is very true. All right, guys. we are to trivia time. So Michaela, you're not allowed to answer these questions, okay? But we can think about it and talk about it. But it's for the audience, and you have the chance to win an Agora Pulse mug or t-shirt. It's your choice, but you have to answer both of these correctly. Now, Promo just released its new study, and it surveyed 500, I should say, marketers about different things of what they use to produce content, videos, all that kind of stuff. And so our first question is, what percentage of marketers that were surveyed combine their own footage with stock footage when creating videos? And so you may think about what you do, but is it A, 35% of marketers mix stock footage with their videos, B, 42%, C, 58%, or D, 64%? So think about this, guys. And when you answer, do 1-A, B, C, so we know that you're answering question number 1-, so we can know which one you're exactly answering. So Michaela, do you mix stock footage with your videos sometimes?
I do not. I'm a big believer in trying to work with what you got, and I like to keep it real as much as possible. So I'm not a big fan of stock photography or video photography, period.
Yeah, I'm the exact same way. At least anything personal of mine is usually, I mean, never. It's all just raw me. But companies, sometimes we utilize different things. So there is a percentage out there. I'm not going to give, I usually give away the answer, Michaela. I'm horrible at this. And Mike will like turn on the speaker and be like, Jen, stop giving it away. So yes, great guesses, guys. Awesome guesses. And we're going to switch to the second question, guys. So remember, you have to get both of them right to win a mug or a hat. All right, guys. So number 2, where do marketers publish the majority of their videos in Promo study? Do they publish the majority on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, or on LinkedIn? What do you guys think? Where do the marketers that were surveyed publish the majority of their videos in Promo study? And I would say this is a good one. I'm trying to think of Agora Pulse here. And Mike, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I would say, I mean, we do our lives on Periscope, Facebook, we stream to YouTube. Probably, we pay, obviously YouTube is a big one. It's a tie between like Facebook and YouTube and LinkedIn. Yeah, for us at Agora Pulse. What about you, Michaela?
I'm sure it's TikTok.
I was waiting for Mike to come here.
I have 3 videos on TikTok. 2 of them are LinkedIn related. So if you like some good LinkedIn humor.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I have one video on TikTok, guys, and it didn't, I was actually on a plane, like messing around with it. And then once we landed and we got signal, the edits I made, I didn't realize some of them didn't save. And so it didn't have the cool effects that I'd created. And I was like, darn it, but I need to get back into it. All right, guys. So we are going to answer back or give you the answers in about 24, 48 hours. So those that do watch the replay, they have a chance to answer as well. So Michaela, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us. It's been almost like 70 minutes. I mean, we could talk to 3:30 if we wanted to, but my boss does have a meeting at 3:30 every Friday. So we can't do that. But Michaela, look at you. First of all, we were talking about your shoes before actually you joined us pre-show. We love that. But talk about where you're speaking next, or for the rest of the year, where people can find you, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, so I'm going to be, I'm heading to Milwaukee for an event called Young Guns, which is all about motivational, inspirational content for entrepreneurs. Flying right back to Ottawa and then heading to social media marketing world. I'll be in town from the 29th to the 5th, so super excited to actually settle in and get to see everybody. And then in terms of where you can find me, my website is michaelalexis.com. In case I forgot it, it's right there. You can find me on pretty much all of the socials. I hang out a lot on LinkedIn, Michaela Alexis. It's just Michael with an A. You can follow my company page if you're looking to learn more about personal branding on LinkedIn or creating your company's brand on LinkedIn. Actually, my presentation for social media marketing world is called How to Turn Your LinkedIn Page into a Lead Generating Machine. So first time I'm doing this presentation. I'm really, really excited about it. You can also find me on Instagram at Michaela Alexis or on TikTok, but please don't judge me. I've only been doing this for like a week, okay?
Oh my God, no, I'm so gonna watch you though. But we should do a TikTok video together at Social Media Marketing World. And Brian Fanzo just said, yeah, more TikTok, Jenny, which is very true. I love dancing. I have dance parties sometimes, just like listening to music in front of the mirror.
Yeah. Oh yeah, but I'm terrible. I don't like. I look at these people on TikTok and I'm like, I can't. I'm doing it on like the slow mo version.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't even do it on the slow-mo version.
No. Trust me. Well, actually, I do have a little rhythm, but there's some things I'm just like, oh my God, I can't do what they do because like these girls do it like every day, all day. So yeah, but we're totally going to do one at Social Media Marketing
We'll
World.
have to rehearse. We'll rehearse in advance. And then by the time we get to Social Media Marketing World, we'll be rock stars.
Oh my God, Michaela, that's so happening. Oh my gosh. So Michaela, thank you for just taking more than an hour out of your very busy day for joining us. And another big thank you to Erin Sell, our show sponsor. She just launched the Socially Powered Digital Marketing Show podcast. So make sure to check that out. It's going to be amazing and so awesome. And then we are actually on 2 bye weeks while we're at Social Media Marketing World. And then the following week, because I'm taking a little vacation. But after that, we have the amazing Bella Vasta on Friday, March 13th, Friday the 13th. It's going to be a little scary, yet awesome at the same time. So we're so excited to have Bella and just talk about community building, Facebook groups, all the amazing stuff that she does. She's a plethora of knowledge. And then lastly, it's our last day of the Social Media Success Summit 3.0. It's free. Now, I say it's the last day. It's the last day of the releases, but these videos are going to be available until March 31st. There's 38 sessions. That's 38 hours of content. And so you want to join now so you can spread this across your team and kind of break it out for the next 30 days so you can watch them. But again, today is the last day they're all being released, and then you have 30 days to watch them. It's incredible. It's amazing. And then guess what, guys? Next Wednesday, we do have 2 live shows, the Social Media Lab Live. They are having the incredible, amazing, we talked about him a little bit today, Jay Bear is going to be the guest on the Social Media Lab Live. That's Wednesdays at 12 o'clock Eastern. And that's right before that's going to kick us off perfectly for Social Media Marketing World. But you guys, thank you so much for joining us, everyone from around the world. You all are amazing. I can't wait to see everyone and meet everyone. Rebecca Ward for the first time at Social Media Marketing World as well. So Michaela, everyone, thank you and have a great weekend. Oh, and we may have, oh, there we go.